Good morning, and welcome to our reflection on the fourth Sunday of Easter. Inside each of us, there's a deep congenital restlessness. We're not restful beings who sometimes get restless, but rather restless beings who occasionally experience rest. Karl Rahner, I believe, had it right when he said that we do not have souls that get restless. Our souls are lonely caverns, thirsting for the infinite, deep wells of restlessness that make us ache for fulfillment. Perhaps this is why we sometimes find it difficult to concentrate during the day and to sleep at night. We go through life feeling like we're missing out on something, that life's more exciting and fulfilling for others than it is for ourselves. Our achievements rarely satisfy us because we are always aware of what we haven't achieved, of missed opportunities and failed possibilities. We often feel that we're not quite adequate for the task, that we can't not disappoint those that we love. We're often a bit dissatisfied. It seems that there's no such thing as clear-cut pure joy, but that even our happiest moments come with a shadow, a fear, a jealousy, a relentlessness. Inside us, no matter what our age, we are often somewhat lost and full of discontentedness that we don't know quite how to handle. And all of that can lead to feelings of guilt, that we should feel a lack of gratitude for all we have. Is it just me, or does any of that ring bells? Let me try to lighten that and make it a bit more concrete. Have you ever had the experience of babysitting? Gosh, when I think back, I was eventually barred from babysitting in the family because my siblings and their spouses would return home sometimes in the early hours and the kids would be up playing, keeping Uncle Alec company. But if you have been a babysitter, you'll connect with what I'm about to say. There comes a point in the babysitting when baby grows tired of being reassured, when flashing toys, extra sweets, and their attempts of cooing them. Baby becomes irritated, cranky, weepy, and finally inconsolable. At this point, nothing is going to soothe baby, except the voice and touch of mum. Baby's disquiet will only evaporate when she eventually hears mother lovingly call her name. It's no different for us really, as adults. As we try to come to grips with our congenital restlessness, we can distract ourselves for a while, be titillated by flashy gadgets and gizmos, be soothed and lulled by sympathetic voices, and momentarily even be content in the absence of a real mum. But there will come a time when we are a bit more tired and crabbit, when these things will soothe no more. We will begin to miss in the very depths of our souls the one voice and one presence that can ultimately bring us rest. Of course, the one voice that can soothe, the one voice that we search for, among all the others, is the voice of God, the primordial mother and father. Ultimately, we reach a point in life when there's an ache, a loneliness and a sadness inside us that no one can still and comfort other than the one who ultimately brought us to birth. Like the baby frustrated with its babysitter, we too need to hear our mother, lovingly speak our names. The Gospel of John opens very differently from the other Gospels. There are no infancy narratives. Right at the beginning, we meet the adult Jesus, and the first words he speaks are a question. What are you looking for? John's whole Gospel tries to answer that question, and does so only towards the end. On the morning of the resurrection, Mary Magdalene meets the newly risen Jesus, but she doesn't recognize him. He approaches her and asks, in words that repeat his question at the opening of the Gospel, "What are you looking for?" She explains that she's searching for the dead body of Jesus. He says just one word to her in response: Mary. He calls her by name, and in that, she not only recognises him, but she hears precisely what a disconsolate baby cannot hear in the voice of a babysitter, the voice of the mum, lovingly pronouncing her name. In Jesus' response to Mary Magdalene, we learn the answer to life's most fundamental question: what do we ache for? Ultimately, all our aching is for one thing: to hear God lovingly and individually call us by name. There comes a moment in the night for each of us when nothing will console us other than this: hearing our names being spoken by the mouth of God. I believe that this voice of God comes to us in different ways. It comes through the Word of God, especially the Gospels. So we need to take some time to read and reflect. God also speaks through the presence, words, and actions of other people we come across in our lives. So we need to welcome people into our lives and give them the respect of listening to what they have to say. And God comes to us in silence. We need to set time aside to listen to the still voice that comes in the depth of our hearts and souls. God never stops calling us by name. It's up to us to get in range, hear his voice, and respond. Today, we celebrate Good Shepherd Sunday. As missionary disciples, we are each called to share in the role of shepherding, keeping the flock safe, and paying special attention to the weak and the wounded. Perhaps there's someone whose load would be lightened with a phone call this week.